Dam maintenance worker Charlie Brooks felt his hands shake as he stared at the words carved deep into the waterlogged raft's interior. After 9 years trapped beneath the Colorado River's turbulent waters, the message was still clearly readable, etched with desperate precision into the rubber. What those words revealed about veteran river guide Mike Thompson's disappearance would shatter everything authorities believed about that tragic day in 2014. The carved message wasn't a cry for help or a goodbye to loved ones. It was something far more disturbing that would transform a presumed drowning accident into the most shocking case in whitewater rafting history. But to understand why those words sent chills down every investigator's spine, we need to go back to that perfect July morning when America's most trusted river guide took his final group down the rapids. The summer of 2014 brought record numbers of thrill-seekers to the Colorado River, all eager to experience the adrenaline rush of Class V rapids during peak whitewater season. July was the absolute best time for rafting, with snowmelt from the Rocky Mountains creating perfect water levels and warm weather drawing adventure tourists from across America. Among the dozens of outfitters competing for business along the river corridor, Rocky Mountain Rapids stood out as the premium choice for serious whitewater enthusiasts. The company's reputation was built on safety, professionalism, and guides who knew every rock, hydraulic, and hidden danger on the river. At the heart of that reputation was Mike Thompson, a 38-year-old river guide whose expertise and calm leadership had earned him legendary status among Colorado's whitewater community. His morning briefings were masterclasses in river safety, and his ability to read water conditions was considered unmatched by anyone who had ever paddled with him. Mike Thompson wasn't just another seasonal river guide working for summer adventure money. He was a consummate professional whose 15-year career had established him as the gold standard for whitewater expertise in the American West. Born and raised in Grand Junction, Colorado, Thompson had grown up on the river and possessed an almost supernatural ability to predict how rapids would behave under different conditions. His safety record was impeccable, with over 3,000 successful trips and 0 serious injuries under his watch. Corporate groups specifically requested Thompson for their team-building adventures, and wealthy tourists paid premium rates to ensure he would be their guide through the most challenging sections of the Colorado River. His colleagues respected his meticulous pre-trip inspections, his calm demeanor during emergencies, and his encyclopedic knowledge of river rescue techniques. Thompson's signature red life jacket and weathered cowboy hat had become iconic symbols of professionalism on the river, and his morning safety speeches were legendary for their perfect balance of humor and life-saving information that kept clients engaged while preparing them for serious whitewater challenges. On July 18, 2014, Thompson conducted his final equipment inspection under brilliant blue Colorado skies, preparing for what appeared to be an ideal day on the river with perfect conditions. The group of 8 clients included experienced rafters from California who had specifically requested Thompson after hearing about his reputation from previous customers. Water levels were optimal, weather forecasts showed clear skies and mild temperatures, and Thompson's pre-trip safety briefing covered every potential hazard with his characteristic thoroughness and dry humor. His assistant guide, Sarah Martinez, handled the support raft while Thompson took the lead boat through the technical sections that would challenge even experienced rafters. The group launched at 9:15 a.m. from the Whitewater Canyon put-in, with Thompson's confident voice carrying across the water as he explained the day's route through some of Colorado's most spectacular and challenging whitewater. Spectators at the launch site watched the familiar red life jacket disappear around the first bend, never imagining it would be the last time anyone would see Mike Thompson alive. Thompson's group made excellent time through the morning sections, with his expert guidance helping clients navigate technical rapids that had challenged whitewater enthusiasts for decades. His radio communications with base camp were routine and professional, reporting normal progress and satisfied clients as they approached the most challenging section of the day's journey. The Skull Rapid, a notorious Class V monster that demanded absolute precision and experience, was where Thompson's expertise truly shined, as he positioned the raft perfectly to avoid the hydraulic that had claimed several boats over the years. Client testimonies later revealed that Thompson seemed completely in his element, joking with passengers between rapids and providing fascinating geological commentary about the canyon walls surrounding them. His last radio check-in came at 1:47 p.m., when he reported approaching the final technical section before the easier water that would carry them to the takeout point. Assistant guide Martinez, following in the support raft approximately 200 yards behind, watched Thompson's boat enter the notorious Widowmaker Rapid with his characteristic confidence and precision that had made him famous throughout Colorado's river community. At 2:23 p.m., Sarah Martinez rounded the bend below Widowmaker Rapid and found 8 panicked clients clinging to rocks in the middle of the Colorado River, but Mike Thompson and his raft had completely vanished. The clients' accounts were consistent but terrifying. Thompson had successfully navigated the main drop of Widowmaker when something went catastrophically wrong in the churning water below. One moment he was shouting instructions and maintaining perfect control, and the next moment the raft had flipped violently, ejecting all passengers into the freezing whitewater chaos. The clients managed to swim to safety using the techniques Thompson had drilled into them during his morning briefing, but when they looked back for their guide, both Thompson and the raft had disappeared completely into the massive hydraulic system that made Widowmaker one of the most dangerous rapids on the river. Martinez immediately radioed for emergency response while throwing rescue ropes to the stranded clients, but her heart sank as she realized that Colorado's most experienced river guide had vanished without a trace in the very waters he knew better than anyone else alive. Colorado River Search and Rescue mobilized the largest operation in the agency's history, deploying every available resource to locate Mike Thompson and understand what had happened to America's most trusted river guide. Helicopter crews scanned miles of riverbank while expert kayakers probed every underwater feature where a body or raft might be trapped by the powerful hydraulics. The search expanded to include technical divers who descended into the churning pools below major rapids, despite dangerous conditions that tested even their considerable expertise and specialized equipment. Thompson's disappearance sent shockwaves through the tight-knit river community, where guides from competing companies volunteered their time and knowledge to assist in the search efforts. His family arrived from across Colorado, joined by hundreds of former clients whose lives had been touched by his professionalism and genuine care for their safety and enjoyment. After 2 weeks of intensive searching covering over 50 miles of river corridor, authorities found no trace of Thompson, his equipment, or the missing raft, leading to the devastating conclusion that the Colorado River had claimed one of its most devoted servants in a tragic accident that defied explanation. As months passed without any trace of Mike Thompson, the river community struggled to understand how their most experienced guide could simply vanish without leaving any evidence behind. Some experts theorized that the powerful hydraulics below Widowmaker had trapped both Thompson and his raft in an underwater cave system that had never been fully mapped or explored by divers. Others suggested that the massive spring runoff had created unusual conditions that even Thompson's extensive experience couldn't predict or overcome in the crucial seconds after the flip. The possibility of equipment failure was extensively investigated, but Thompson's meticulous maintenance records and the raft manufacturer's analysis found no evidence of defective gear or improper setup. More disturbing theories began emerging about potential foul play, though investigators found no credible threats against Thompson or evidence of conflicts that might have motivated violence against the beloved guide. His disappearance became a cautionary tale told around campfires and in guide training courses, though the complete absence of physical evidence left everyone in the river community with more questions than answers about what had happened to their colleague and friend. The whitewater rafting industry in Colorado slowly adapted to the reality that even their most experienced guides could vanish without warning in the powerful forces of nature they worked with daily. Rocky Mountain Rapids established new safety protocols and communication requirements in Thompson's honor, though his disappearance had fundamentally shaken confidence in the predictability of river conditions. Sarah Martinez struggled with survivor's guilt and eventually left guiding to become a river safety instructor, using her experience to train the next generation of guides about the unpredictable dangers they faced. Thompson's family held an emotional memorial service overlooking the Colorado River, though they never gave up hope that somehow he might have survived and would eventually find his way home. The river guide community established an annual safety symposium in Thompson's memory, focusing on emergency response and rescue techniques that might prevent similar tragedies. His empty guide station became a shrine of sorts, with fellow guides leaving notes, photos, and small tokens of respect for a man who had embodied everything they aspired to be in their dangerous profession. 9 years later, on August 15, 2023, Colorado River Authority received a routine request for dam maintenance inspection that would transform into the discovery that solved one of America's most puzzling disappearances. The Flaming Gorge Dam's lower gates required their annual cleaning and inspection, a mundane task that maintenance supervisor Charlie Brooks had performed dozens of times throughout his 20-year career. The work involved draining specific sections of the reservoir and examining the massive concrete structures for wear, damage, or debris accumulation that could affect the dam's operation. Brooks assembled his usual crew of experienced technicians, expecting another routine day of industrial maintenance work in the challenging environment below the dam structure. As water levels dropped to expose areas that had been submerged for nearly a decade, Brooks noticed something unusual wedged against the intake screens that definitely wasn't typical debris. The object appeared to be fabricated material, possibly rubber or synthetic fabric, that had somehow survived years of submersion in the powerful currents and pressure changes of the dam's lower chambers. As Charlie Brooks and his maintenance crew worked to extract what they initially assumed was construction debris from the dam's intake system, they realized they had found something that would rewrite Colorado River history. The object was unmistakably a whitewater raft, severely damaged but still identifiable, that had been trapped in the dam's lower chambers for what appeared to be many years. The raft's distinctive color scheme and manufacturer markings immediately caught Brooks's attention, as he recognized the specifications used by professional river guide services throughout Colorado. Most shocking of all, the raft was still partially inflated despite obvious punctures and tears, suggesting it had been protected from the worst damage by its position in the dam structure. Brooks immediately contacted his supervisor and requested that Colorado River Authority notify law enforcement, as the discovery of any watercraft in the dam system required official investigation and documentation. Within hours, the site was swarming with investigators, forensic specialists, and river rescue experts who recognized that this discovery might finally provide answers to one of Colorado's most puzzling missing person cases from nearly a decade earlier. Colorado Bureau of Investigation assembled a specialized team to examine what appeared to be the first concrete evidence in Mike Thompson's disappearance after 9 years of unanswered questions. Forensic specialist Dr. Amanda Rodriguez led the technical analysis while consulting with river safety experts who could interpret the raft's condition and the forces that had brought it to the dam. The investigation team included several guides who had worked with Thompson, including Sarah Martinez, whose first-hand knowledge of that tragic day in 2014 would be crucial for understanding how the raft had traveled from Widowmaker Rapid to the dam structure. Advanced photogrammetry equipment documented every aspect of the raft's position and condition before any physical examination that might disturb potential evidence. The team also included hydraulic engineers who could model water flow patterns and explain how debris moved through the complex river system between the accident site and the dam. Most importantly, the investigation required cooperation from multiple agencies, as the discovery had jurisdictional implications that crossed county lines and involved federal water management facilities that required specialized clearance and expertise. As investigators carefully extracted Mike Thompson's raft from the dam structure, they discovered that 9 years of submersion had preserved far more evidence than anyone had dared hope. The raft's material had protected much of the interior from complete degradation, allowing forensic specialists to identify personal items, equipment fragments, and other materials that could provide crucial information about Thompson's final moments. Dr. Rodriguez supervised the meticulous documentation process, photographing every item and surface before beginning the delicate work of evidence collection and analysis. The raft's construction had created several protected air pockets where organic materials had been preserved in a low-oxygen environment, potentially maintaining DNA evidence that could confirm Thompson's presence and fate. Most intriguingly, investigators discovered tool marks and deliberate modifications to the raft that suggested someone had made intentional changes to its structure, though the purpose and timing of these alterations remained unclear. The forensic examination required specialized techniques adapted for materials that had been subjected to extreme water pressure, temperature variations, and chemical exposure over nearly a decade of submersion. Deep inside Mike Thompson's recovered raft, investigators made a discovery that transformed the entire case from a tragic accident into something far more sinister and disturbing. Carved into the interior rubber with deliberate precision were words that had survived 9 years of submersion. They sabotaged my gear, not an accident, check the company. The message was clearly carved by someone with intimate knowledge of raft construction, using techniques that suggested extensive experience with river equipment and emergency repairs. Dr. Rodriguez confirmed that the carving had been made with a specialized river knife, the type carried by all professional guides, and the depth and precision indicated someone working under extreme stress but with determined focus. The message placement in a protected area of the raft suggested Thompson had deliberately chosen a location where it might survive and eventually be discovered, even if he didn't. Most chilling was the implication that Thompson had somehow survived the initial flip and had time to carve this accusation before his ultimate fate, fundamentally changing investigators' understanding of what had happened in those crucial moments after Widowmaker Rapid. The carved message raised terrifying questions about corporate sabotage, professional rivalries, and the possibility that America's most trusted river guide had been murdered. The carved message in Mike Thompson's raft immediately transformed his disappearance from a closed accidental drowning case into an active murder investigation that would rock Colorado's outdoor recreation industry. FBI investigators joined the case as it expanded beyond state jurisdiction, focusing on potential corporate crime and conspiracy charges that could involve multiple suspects and companies. Agent Michael Hayes specialized in corporate fraud and had extensive experience investigating cases where business competition had escalated into criminal activity, including sabotage and violence. The investigation began with a comprehensive review of Rocky Mountain Rapids' business relationships, focusing on competitors who might have benefited from Thompson's removal and the company's subsequent reputation damage. Investigators also examined Thompson's personal relationships and any potential conflicts that might have motivated violence, though his universally positive reputation made personal motives seem unlikely. The message-specific reference to the company required investigators to determine whether Thompson meant his own employer, a competitor, or a supplier who might have provided sabotaged equipment. Financial records, insurance policies, and business communications from 2014 became crucial evidence as investigators worked to identify who might have had both motive and opportunity to sabotage America's most trusted river guide. Deep inside Mike Thompson's recovered raft, investigators made a discovery that transformed the entire case from a tragic accident into something far more sinister and disturbing. Carved into the interior rubber with deliberate precision were words that had survived 9 years of submersion. They sabotaged my gear, not an accident, check the company. The message was clearly carved by someone with intimate knowledge of raft construction, using techniques that suggested extensive experience with river equipment and emergency repairs. Dr. Rodriguez confirmed that the carving had been made with a specialized river knife, the type carried by all professional guides, and the depth and precision indicated someone working under extreme stress but with determined focus. The message placement in a protected area of the raft suggested Thompson had deliberately chosen a location where it might survive and eventually be discovered, even if he didn't. Most chilling was the implication that Thompson had somehow survived the initial flip and had time to carve this accusation before his ultimate fate, fundamentally changing investigators' understanding of what had happened in those crucial moments after Widowmaker Rapid. The carved message raised terrifying questions about corporate sabotage, professional rivalries, and the possibility that America's most trusted river guide had been murdered. The carved message in Mike Thompson's raft immediately transformed his disappearance from a closed accidental drowning case into an active murder investigation that would rock Colorado's outdoor recreation industry. FBI investigators joined the case as it expanded beyond state jurisdiction, focusing on potential corporate crime and conspiracy charges that could involve multiple suspects and companies. Agent Michael Hayes specialized in corporate fraud and had extensive experience investigating cases where business competition had escalated into criminal activity, including sabotage and violence. The investigation began with a comprehensive review of Rocky Mountain Rapids' business relationships, focusing on competitors who might have benefited from Thompson's removal and the company's subsequent reputation damage. Investigators also examined Thompson's personal relationships and any potential conflicts that might have motivated violence, though his universally positive reputation made personal motives seem unlikely. The message-specific reference to the company required investigators to determine whether Thompson meant his own employer, a competitor, or a supplier who might have provided sabotaged equipment. Financial records, insurance policies, and business communications from 2014 became crucial evidence as investigators worked to identify who might have had both motive and opportunity to sabotage America's most trusted river guide. FBI investigators discovered a web of corporate rivalry and financial pressure that had made Rocky Mountain Rapids a target for competitors seeking to dominate Colorado's lucrative whitewater tourism market. In the months before Thompson's disappearance, several major outdoor recreation companies had been engaged in aggressive competition for exclusive government contracts and premium client bookings. Agent Hayes uncovered evidence of industrial espionage, including attempts to steal client lists, poach experienced guides, and spread rumors about safety records among competing companies. Most significantly, investigators found that Rocky Mountain Rapids had been negotiating a major expansion that would have given them exclusive access to certain river sections, potentially bankrupting smaller competitors who relied on those areas. The investigation revealed threatening communications between company executives, including veiled references to eliminating the competition and removing obstacles to business success. Thompson's role as the company's most valuable asset and primary competitive advantage made him a logical target for competitors who couldn't match his expertise or reputation. Financial analysis showed that several companies had experienced significant losses in bookings and revenue as clients specifically requested Thompson, creating powerful motives for corporate sabotage that could have escalated to murder. 8 months after discovering Thompson's raft and its chilling message, investigators achieved a major breakthrough when forensic analysis of recovered equipment revealed evidence of deliberate sabotage. Laboratory examination of raft material found microscopic traces of industrial adhesive that had been used to weaken critical seams, creating failure points that would activate under the specific stress conditions of major rapids. The sabotage was sophisticated and required intimate knowledge of raft construction and whitewater physics, suggesting the perpetrator had extensive experience in the river industry. Most damning was the discovery that the adhesive contained unique chemical markers that matched products used exclusively by Mountain Adventure Outfitters, Rocky Mountain Rapids' primary competitor for government contracts and corporate clients. FBI agents executed search warrants at Mountain Adventure's facilities and discovered additional evidence of the conspiracy, including detailed plans of Rocky Mountain Rapids operations and Thompson's daily routines. Company owner Derek Patterson initially denied involvement but eventually confessed when confronted with overwhelming physical evidence and testimony from employees who had been pressured to participate in the sabotage scheme. Patterson's statement revealed a premeditated plan to eliminate Thompson and destroy Rocky Mountain Rapids' reputation, allowing mountain adventure to dominate the Colorado River guiding market. Derek Patterson's detailed confession revealed the shocking extent of the conspiracy that had cost Mike Thompson his life and devastated Colorado's river community. According to Patterson's statement, the plan had been months in the making, involving surveillance of Thompson's routines, analysis of his equipment maintenance schedules, and careful timing to ensure the sabotage would activate during the most dangerous section of river. Patterson admitted to personally applying the industrial adhesive to Thompson's raft during a break-in at Rocky Mountain Rapids equipment storage facility, using his extensive knowledge of raft construction to create failures that would appear accidental. The confession revealed that Patterson had never intended for Thompson to die, claiming he had only wanted to create a dramatic rescue scenario that would damage Rocky Mountain Rapids' safety reputation and drive clients to mountain adventure outfitters. However, the powerful hydraulics of Widowmaker Rapid had created conditions far more dangerous than Patterson had anticipated, trapping Thompson in a situation where even his considerable skills couldn't save him. Most disturbing was Patterson's admission that he had watched news coverage of Thompson's disappearance with growing horror, realizing that his corporate greed had cost the life of a man universally respected throughout the river community. Federal prosecutors built an overwhelming case against Derek Patterson, charging him with first-degree murder, corporate espionage, and conspiracy in Mike Thompson's death. The prosecution team was led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Walsh, who specialized in corporate crime cases and was determined to seek maximum penalties for Patterson's actions. The evidence included Patterson's detailed confession, forensic proof of equipment sabotage, financial records showing motive, and testimony from mountain adventure employees who had been coerced into participating in the conspiracy. Patterson's defense team, led by prominent criminal attorney Robert Chen, attempted to argue that his client had never intended to cause Thompson's death and should face reduced charges of manslaughter rather than premeditated murder. However, the prosecution successfully argued that deliberately sabotaging safety equipment in a dangerous environment constituted depraved indifference to human life, meeting the legal standard for first-degree murder charges. The case attracted national media attention as the outdoor recreation industry grappled with the revelation that corporate competition had escalated to deadly sabotage and murder. Jury selection required extensive screening to find impartial jurors, as Thompson's reputation and the shocking nature of the crime had created strong emotions throughout Colorado's outdoor community. The trial of Derek Patterson began on March 15, 2024, in a Denver federal courthouse packed with members of Colorado's river community who had come to see justice for Mike Thompson. Prosecutor Walsh presented devastating evidence of premeditated murder motivated by corporate greed, using Patterson's own confession and forensic evidence to build an unassailable case. The prosecution called dozens of witnesses who testified about Thompson's character, his safety record, and the devastating impact his loss had on families and the river community. Sarah Martinez delivered emotional testimony about that tragic day, explaining how Thompson's expertise and leadership had saved his clients' lives even as he faced his own death from the sabotaged equipment. Patterson's defense attempted to portray him as a businessman who had made a terrible mistake, but the jury saw through attempts to minimize his responsibility for Thompson's murder. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all charges, with Patterson sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Thompson's family finally received the justice they had sought for nearly a decade, though the pain of losing America's most trusted river guide would never fully heal. The river community implemented new security measures and background checks to prevent similar corporate sabotage, ensuring that Thompson's legacy would include lasting improvements to guide safety and industry oversight. 5 years after Derek Patterson's conviction, the Colorado River community had transformed Mike Thompson's tragic murder into a powerful force for positive change throughout America's whitewater industry. The Mike Thompson River Safety Foundation provided advanced training, equipment grants, and emergency response resources for guides across the country, ensuring his commitment to safety would protect future generations of river professionals. His former company, Rocky Mountain Rapids, established the Thompson Memorial Training Center where guides learned not only technical skills but also the ethical standards and professional integrity that had made him legendary. The carved message that had finally solved his murder was preserved as part of a memorial at the Flaming Gorge Dam, reminding visitors that truth and justice can survive even the most powerful forces of nature. Sarah Martinez returned to guiding with a focus on training new guides about equipment security and the warning signs of corporate sabotage that Thompson had died trying to expose. The Colorado River itself seemed to run cleaner and clearer, as if finally at peace knowing that the man who had devoted his life to its waters had received the justice he deserved. Most importantly, Thompson's story became a cautionary tale about corporate greed and the deadly consequences of putting profit above human life, ensuring that his sacrifice would prevent similar tragedies in America's outdoor recreation industry. The discovery that began with routine dam maintenance had not only solved one of Colorado's greatest mysteries but had also created a lasting legacy that would protect river guides and their clients for generations to come.